specifically on that tournament that they were trying to win, and by defrauding everybody else, that should get into a grand theft.
Right.
Fish, come on.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Yeah, it's either, yeah, you got to make the penalties worse to deter people from doing it, or the slap on the wrist isn't working.
What I wanted to do, and I may start doing it anyway. Not that I do anything against their. These revocations, once they go before the commission, they're a matter of public record. I want to air them.
Yeah.
By name. Matt did this. Shame on you, Matt.
Yeah.
And
make an example out of them.
I'm not going to go so far as, giving their name or give their names out, but the public record has to stop. I'm not going to give their addresses out and anything like that, because
right.
Some of these guys get really pissed and they're into payback, so we don't need to do that. But the more we keep it quiet and the less social media that there is, the longer it's going to continue.
Right.
And it's like these guys whacking a trophy antelope. Come on.
Yeah. Make them famous.
So the only hope we have is that they'll hang themselves, because a lot of these, the first thing they do is they go to Facebook. Come on.
I was going to tell you that the guy that held the state record for a few weeks, remember that one? He threw a stick of dynamite by the second bridge. He was a construction guy.
Oh, God.
Had a 15.5 pounder float up, and waited at a tackle shop, and says, man, this is this new state record. And he's basked in the glory of having
destination nationwide. Dine, stay, play, and earn on all of it. Details at mgmrewards.com. Subject to earning and redemption limitations applicable to certain purchases and in certain states.
It's time for Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910. A show for the avid fisherman and hunter looking for tips from the pros. Now here's your host, a saltwater fisherman and a man that fears no fish. He's the bass daddy and a tournament pro, Don McDowell.
All right, we're back. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us in our house while you let us in your house. Listen, we've got Matt Shura in here talking about seasonal variations. We just got off the phone with Commissioner Guggenauer. Had a good Roosevelt report, told us about the Dunkerby Lodge up in British Columbia catching all kinds of big salmon, lingcod, halibut. He does that annually every year.
I've seen the pictures.
Oh, God.
Seen the pictures.
Great. But a couple things we did talk about. There's a new poaching case, and if somebody knows something, please say something. Call me. Call the department. Call Operation Game Thief. Up near Paulden, Arizona, the Game and Fish investigators have found an illegally poached pronghorn antelope buck. They found his headless body out there wasting along Big Chino Road, which is northwest of the town of Paulden, up in 19B, and that occurred somewhere between the 21st of August and the 24th. So please, if you know something, say something. We got to stop this stuff. I mean, it's these guys are thieves. They're not hunters or poachers. They're thieves. So do your part. All right, enough of that. Seasonal variations. So if you're going to fish tomorrow morning, okay, what's the first thing you're going to throw? Where are you going to go? You're going to be deep water, shallow water, parallel with the bank, perpendicular to the bank?
Start shallow. Always start shallow and work your way out. And just like Jim was saying, first thing in the morning, those low light conditions, those fish aren't as spooked, and they'll travel a little further when that low light condition or cloud cover, that kind of stuff in the morning. So I'd start out with my favorites. The topwater baits is the spook, and it's a walking bait. This is a spook junior, and it's just a twitch, and it just pops on the surface. It has rattles. to draw them up.
Yep.
And I really like that. And of course the Ricos and popper style
Well,
baits where you just
the Ricos, I want to say something about that heading. That particular one right there with that turquoise face, the turquoise cheeks, and the chartreuse down the back.
Mm-hmm.
That is a go-to bait, and this is probably the first time I've admitted it on the air. But that's a go-to bait on Roosevelt. I won't throw that on Lake Pleasant.
I want to Mike Brillhart and I won a tournament with 18 pounds on this bait at Lake Pleasant.
I have never
in crystal clear water.
I have never caught a fish on that at Pleasant.
Let me tell you why it works. Because when I first saw it, it's like chartreuse in clear water. It's like, it's kind of different. But they're not looking at the top of the bait; they're looking at the bottom.
Of the bait,
and it's translucent. And if you look at it in the light, it's kind of a bluegill pattern.
Yep.
And those bigger fish, we've always talked about it. These 3 to 5 pound fish that we were catching that day, they're not. A 5 pound bass isn't chasing around a 1 inch shad. He burns more energy than he gets from eating it. They're looking, for bluegills, especially when the bluegill spawn happens. Usually a little bit after the bass spawn.
Yeah.
They'll start really concentrating on the bluegills. And I've caught them great on this color at Lake Mead. It works everywhere because it gives it that hue, that translucent. So, if the bottom was chartreuse, I might feel a little differently about it. But it's really cool when you look at it in the light. So,
I have my favorite baits, the Hammer Shad 574 from Rico. Mm-hmm. That we designed the colors on, and Clearwater, that's a killer bait. But that one right there would be, Rico's got some weather that will mimic that.
Yeah, and the lightning shad is my favorite color, Rico. Yep. But yeah, back to fishing. Start out with some topwater. You kind of get a feel. If you don't see any shad getting chased, or no bass hitting the surface, that kind of thing. You put it away and maybe switch to a square bill. You see, so you're starting real shallow. Square bill will go, that 5 foot of water. Even a jerk bait like I know you love throwing a jerk bait, that kind of thing.
Oh,
but just keep backing out, and
I got my favorite one right here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I've seen that. That's cool. But just keep backing out until you find them and cover water. Definitely cover water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that one before. It's cool. But so I'll tell you one thing though. If you're, there's a lot of people that can only get out once or twice a month, and they don't have the. I'm thinking about going to Roosevelt tomorrow. I don't. It's such a big lake. Even though it's a holiday, I can deal with some wakeboarders, but because I have a tournament there next Saturday with Brad Cook.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to get out there, and I'm going to spend 2-3 days on the water and have time to look around, and not catch fish. But if you're having trouble, just put that drop shot on. Stick to the natural colors. The 5150 makes a great worm, robo worm. Arizona Custom Baits. Just get stick to the natural colors. And the watermelons, the green pumpkins, the
earth tones,
oxblood. Yeah. And we've done great on the purples as well. Just that kind of depending. The deeper I go, the darker bait.
Don't talk about purple.
Margarita mutilator.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, and we were on a really good bite last year at Roosevelt in 40, 50 foot of water on that Margarita mutilator. That was the color. And you could throw other colors. So, switch around your colors. But
yep, the color purple, that's another go-to. Mm-hmm. In the variation that I found that works very well, it's kind of like the tequila mutilator is...
Margarita mutilator.
Margarita, yeah, sorry. It was a long night.
Thinking about tequila last night.
Yeah, no. Is a light tan and purple mix.
Yeah. It's a brown, purple, and red flake.
Yeah.
It's a great color, and just having the basics, and that's the great part about the drop shot. If they're in 2 foot of water, you can pitch your drop shot in 2 foot of water and catch them.
The other thing I can say while you're goofing around the launch ramp is see if you can spy a crawdad and look at the color of the crawdad.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and those crawdads, that Arizona typically your browns and greens, they're different shades, of course. Sometimes they'll have orange on them, but that's a good tip. A lot of people do that. I know the U.S. Open at Mead, there'd be boats just beached on the sand and guys turning over rocks looking for crawdads. And they have a lot of red in them and orange.
Yes.
At Mead, they're totally and I don't I'm not a crawdad expert.
I don't
but-
know if there's different species or not. I'll look that up this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm not a crawdad expert.
So
But,
I'm supposed to know that.
well, and then
I know they're good with butter.
yeah, but you know what's funny is as much as we try to match the hatch and teach people throw natural colors, I've killed them on bubblegum worms at Roosevelt.
Yeah.
It's just something different sometimes.
I know.
And I went by this guy and he caught one in front of us and I'm like, what are you throwing? It's like, oh, bubblegum, it works great here. And I was like, oh, I got to get me some of those. And,
Yeah,
I caught him good.
That's kind of a Texas thing.
It works here. And just like, when have you ever thrown a red-bladed spinnerbait?
Yes, at Lake Fork.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
They eat it.
at Alamo, they absolutely annihilated it.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, and it just I don't. Yeah, it's just
I don't
something
know,
different,
man.
and for whatever we had some really good days on a red-bladed spinnerbait, and I didn't even own one. I do now, but I always try to duplicate it.
One of my big fans on television is Jeremy Wade. I mean, he fishes all over the world, and he throws some of the god-awfulest color stuff on the planet.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at Western Hemisphere bait, and then you go to his neighborhood over in Europe, UK, and all that kind of stuff. And then the other one is look at Australia, and the stuff they use. There's no way in hell I'd buy one, much less throw it in the water.
well,
But they work.
let me tell you something. When my dad was around, you let him loose at a tackle shop, and he'd go straight to the the crawdad-looking bait with eyeballs and claws and everything, and I just shake my head, and it's like, okay, that'll be at a garage sale next year, and he'd catch them on him,
Oh, yeah.
He'd get some funky stuff that,
Yeah.
because, this Yamamoto jig that we throw,
I know.
it really doesn't look like a live crawdad, but it just works. Arizona is just a staple bait. You go to
Yeah.
Bartlett and you can usually load the boat on a
Boom.
half-ounce Yamamoto. It's a hula grub. Just get yourself green pumpkin or the
Yep.
watermelon candy, the 301 or the 330 or the color the color numbers. But it's just the 330 has some copper flake in it. But just drag it on the bottom real slow and they just eat them. But yeah, that's why we're all still learning every single day.
Absolutely.
Kevin Van Dam's still learning. I'm learning.
Is
Everybody's
there a
learning.
time where you would throw a single tail grub?
Yes, and that's I was just thinking about that the other day. Yeah, and when the fish are on the shad and they're tight to the bottom, that's one of the things we were doing is basically throwing a jig head, heavier jig head, let it
Yep.
sink down to the bottom, and just slow reel it back. Basically swimming it, just keep it moving, clunk, clunk, clunk the rocks, and they just
Whack.
absolutely hammer it. And that's another good point. I don't know if these names remember these names, but David Baca, he's still out there.
Oh my God.
Gary Martledge, some of those guys.
Yeah.
They figured out, now we're throwing dippers and there's all the paddle tail stuff and even the flukes were a real subtle presentation. But they figured out on a real light ball head, like an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce ball head with a single tail grub.
Yep.
And they were just slow rolling it, catching a suspended fish off the bank, just slow rolling it back. Now we have Kitex and swim baits and
Sure,
all that kind of stuff. But they figured that out a long time ago and they were killing us.
Yeah, but that's
Sometimes less is more,
old school works, man.
Yeah, especially in clear water. That subtle, natural, quiet presentation catches them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but
That's
yeah,
crazy. All right, we got to flip into a break here. When we come back, we're going to go trout fishing and bear hunting with Chris Rich, AZ Fly Shop. I'm Don McDowell,
Matt Shura.
and we don't know where Doug is. This is Fox Sports 910.
Hey, it's Jody Ayler. I'm off for a few days for the Labor Day weekend holiday. We will be back Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I just love this thing.
I love the color. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and that pliable body is just. I'll never forget that day.
You know what though? This is a pretty pliable body too.
Oh yeah,
That fluke when they grab onto it, because the head of that's still plastic, and if they
It's
eat
hard.
it,
Yeah.
they're gonna spit it
Well,
out. But
yeah.
there's treble hooks all over it, and that's the reason.
same theory.
Yeah, no, it's a neat bait. I've caught just thousands of fish on the X-Wrap, Rapala X-Wrap.
Yep.
It's just something that I've always had confidence in. And you remember just the regular floating Rapalas.
Oh, yeah.
Balsa.
Yep, the goal with the black back.
That and just the regular shad pattern and even the trout pattern at Soron Canyon we used to kill them on. So here's one in that blast from the past. I've showed it to you before. Recognize that TD minnow? That's a killer bait. They don't make them anymore, though.
Let me try them real quick. Where is Chris Rich? I'm going to see if I can wake him up. Okay, my guy's going to call you. Okay. He's ready for you. Call Rich. Call Rich. Call Rich. Call Chris Rich. Yeah, I just talked to him. I was pushing the wrong button. That's why they don't let me push buttons. You throwing any frogs?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Alamo Lake. We did Johnny Johnson and I did a show at Alamo, and we just had a blast. A lot of fun getting in the trees and getting those big blow-ups.
Oh, man.
That's one weird thing is just something I wouldn't have thought of is just that black frog, that silhouette it gives. Works
Yeah,
great here.
exactly.
So you can keep it kind of simple, either throw black or white, and I've always done well with the spro frogs. But I'll tell you what, the hooks are stout. I have one buried in my hand.
Boom. Ow.
Buried. Still got the scar from it. We were fishing for a boat that day, and I just wanted it out of my finger. Had to push it through. That was fun. Be surprised how tough your skin is.
Pardon me? We are? Okay, we're still trying to get a hold of Rich. Hey, you're still going straight to voicemail for some reason. Okay, I'm going to text you the number. Let me get it from Connor, and we'll send you a phone number. All right.
Waiting. So, different types of spoons.
Yeah, spoons and frogs.
You bet. So, this is the Rapala Jig and Wrap. Awesome bait. Hooks in the front, hooks in the back. And this is one bait that was a secret for a long time. When you jig it, it glides. Jig it, it glides. So instead of going straight up and down like a regular spoon, conventional spoon, and this is the Strata spoon that we like to throw, it'll flutter straight down. This will glide. So you're covering more water while you're vertically fishing. So that's one thing that makes this thing so deadly. And I just keep it simple on the colors, just a shad pattern. But as far as frogs go, the Spro frog, one of my favorites, always just bend the hooks out slightly. And this is a bait you want to throw on braid. You don't want any stretch. When that fish eats it, just wait for that 1 second to make don't pull it out away from them.
Yeah, don't swing.
But just pause for that 1 second and then hit them. And with that braid, there's no sweat stretch, so you're using that medium heavy, more rod. You don't want too heavy a rod, I've learned, because when you're these frogs, this is a regular frog. They have the popping frogs that work like a popper, but you can just twitch, little short twitches, and you can actually walk this frog. The problem is if you have too heavy a rod, when the bass flares on it, it actually won't get in their mouth.
Yeah,
so
that frog ain't got no legs.
Well, you cut them off so it walks better. That secret. But
just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I had the funny part. I'm with Cast King rods, and I got the frog rod, and I'm just like, man, this is too light. This frog rod just seems way too light. And Brent Chapman, who's one of the best bass fishermen in the world, designed that rod and works perfect for him. So I learned my lesson.
Were you still throwing braid on it? Absolutely. Okay. Hey, we finally located Chris Rich. What are you doing, brother? What's happening?
I'm standing right here at the edge of Carnero Lake, about 9,500 feet up in the White Mountains of Arizona. I tell you what, last week I was in Montana fishing the famous Missouri River. And I had a good time because I always have a good time, but I'll tell you what, the best kept secret in fly fishing, White Mountains of Arizona.
Yeah. All right, forget about that for a minute. Tell me about this bear.
Well, I tell you what, we hunted behind dogs for 6 solid days. We had some good chases. Had a couple times that the dogs were getting chased by 10 to 15 wolves. They came out unscathed, and on the 7th day, as he would have it, 10 minutes after light, they bared a tree, or treed a bear, and that was the end of it.
Boom shakalaka, yeah, man. Woo!
Yeah. One shot and clean, and split second, he's out of the tree. Everything went perfect.
Wonderful.
Took a little work, and I'll tell you what, it was really amazing watching these dogs work. I'd never done that before. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They definitely know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do.
Well, how big did that bear lengthwise? What did he turn out to be? Look, he looked extremely long.
He was a very average Arizona black bear. Nothing special about him. And the outfitter wanted to wait. He said, "Oh, we can get something better." Dude, after 6 freaking days.
Nope.
No, we're taking this bear. I'm done.
Nope, you don't do that in Arizona, huh? Nope.
Yeah. So it was fun. I mean, and there, you think, I kind of thought